Welcome to the Home Staging Association podcast with Paloma Harrington.
Is that a real background?
Yes, my flat.
Oh my God, I thought it was like a virtual one because it's so gorgeous. Look at that.
I'm only showing you this bit because the rest is not.
Oh, I love it. Well done. Look, starting in style. How are you? You good?
Yeah, not bad. You?
Good, thanks. How was traffic?
It never takes. It's never very far away in Bristol. It just takes 20 minutes to go anywhere.
Oh,
So even if you're 1 mile away, it takes 20 minutes. If you're 20 miles away, it takes 20 minutes.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
It's a bit
jealous.
frustrating, but that's what it's like. It's just there's not a lot of big roads, which is good, but also bad.
It's good. No, I think it's good. Keeping it simple. Yeah, I'm kind of done with the commuting in London, kind of weighing the pros and cons of
Yeah.
London life these days. So yeah, I still need to pay you that visit. So hopefully soon. Let's wait for summer.
Well, that's actually played into a lot of why Bristol does so well with home staging, because a lot of people moving from London to Bristol. Property market, once they did HSA, what was it, High Speed 2? High Speed,
Yeah.
the prices went through the roof in Bristol.
Really? Oh, sorry. Yeah,
No.
I want to talk about that, and I want us to talk about so many things today. Let's try to keep it to say 30 minutes so people are not so bored. We've got people from Australia joining us, like 2:30 in the morning there. How
That's
cool is that? So yeah, no, that's amazing. So Rob, before we get started,
Yeah.
I obviously know you very well. You've come to all of the main events of HSAs, and we've done some partying together as well. People don't know that there's partying in the HSA, but yeah, there is. But not everyone knows you the way that I do, the way that HSA people do. So I think the best way to get started would be for you to briefly introduce yourself, name, where you're from, your company, and then I'll start shooting questions to make sure that everyone finds out more about what you do and Refine and Bristol as well. So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name's Rob. I'm from Windsor, just west of London. Moved to Bristol in probably 2008. I actually moved here to play rugby. Rugby was my job for 17 years. But in and around that time, I was flipping homes because there's only so much rugby training you can do. And I was getting far too good at Xbox, so I thought I'd better do something.
Not really proud of it.
At the time, Bristol had a lot of these gorgeous properties, with all the features and such, and they weren't too expensive because it was, before the big kind of exodus from London, and Bristol's and prices weren't quite as high as they are now, and so it was quite easy to take kind of gems and polish them up, and flip them really quickly. I basically got into home staging by Refine. There's my company. I basically got into home staging by I had a property that I was flipping, and it was a lower ground floor flat, so kind of subterranean, I guess, which is kind of Marmite for a lot of people. A lot of people won't really want to live underground anyway.
Yeah.
But it was an awkward layout, like a lot of Georgian conversions are, because they were never meant to be flats. So I'd opened it up because in my mind the hallway could be like a dining room leading into a kitchen, and like I could see the layout, but obviously we put it on the market and it was empty, and got no offers. It was on for 320 back then, so quite cheap. No offers. Moderate viewings, but as soon as people saw it under the ground, they didn't want to go in there. And then I actually ended up selling my own property and moving into it. And I moved into it, put all my furniture in there, and we had 2 viewings on that Saturday that I moved in. And I said, well, look, do the viewings and then take off the market because I'm living here. And those 2 viewings offered asking price, even though the only difference was that I'd moved in, so all my furniture was in there. So it went to best and final bids, and it went over asking price. And I was like, oh, there's something to do with this furniture here. So I Googled lots of companies to try and find a stager in Bristol, and I couldn't find anyone that would rent me furniture. I could only find people who would sell me furniture packs, spend 20, 30 grand. And they're like, oh, it's okay, you can sell it afterwards. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit on Gumtree for 6 months while people, offer me £100 for £1,000.
No, and having to deal with everyone that wants to book and see a sofa or a chair, and they don't come, and then sell everything individually. It's
on for like 900, and they're like, will you take 100? No. So anyway, I searched all these companies, couldn't find any. Found obviously quite a few in London, but the delivery charge was like 2,500, or between 1,000 and 2,500. I was like, I'll start doing it myself, thinking, I can do it. I can stage a home for £5,000. Yeah, £5,000. That seems a lot to stage a home. Obviously, I found out it's not. Blew my budget, obviously, went through £5,000. But then I had all this furniture, so I just started. I told all the agents that I knew from buying properties that I've got some furniture that I'm happy to rent out, and it just became a thing. And now I don't even flip homes anymore, really, unless I find a nice one. Ended up spending millions on furniture, and now I have so much. and that's how it came about.
So how did you do it? You obviously started with your own furniture, but then did you start buying like high street, or did you?
Yeah. So I had my own furniture, and then I actually was a bit cheeky. I thought, well, this is a thing. I'll see how it goes. And I went round to a couple of agents, because that was obviously. I thought the first time obviously it's getting different now. When you're an English home seller, the first person you go talk to is an agent. You don't go, oh, I need a stager. Like at any point, unless you're in the know, will you go, right, well, first things first, I need a stager, and then I'll talk to an agent. No, they go straight to the agent. So I was like, well, I can get agents to refer me, and that will be easiest in. It obviously is quite a hard road talking to agents, but they all have their
little did you know.
Yeah, they all have their motivations, whether it's money or performance. They all have it. So yeah, I got one or two off the back of that, and I basically just told them we were really busy. We couldn't do it for 2 weeks, and then I spent that 2 weeks buying furniture.
I love it. We're so busy.
We're just so busy
buying the furniture that I already said that I have.
Yeah, I've got loads of stuff. Yeah.
And then what did you do? Were you buying high street at first, or did you get into the whole trade and suppliers from the very beginning? How did that unfold?
Because it's very hard. I think even now, even though we've been going for what's nearly coming up 7 years, I think 6-7 years. Even now, I find it hard to buy in bulk, trade, because you think, yeah, great, I'm going to use 50 of these chairs, and you tend to, but it's hard because sometimes they just sit there unused for a long time, and you're sure that you're going to use all these dining chairs. And I've got like 12 beautiful blue velvet and gold dining chairs that I probably use one time, and I bought them all in bulk. So I try and do that, but I actually find it a lot easier. Maybe it's just my personality type to buy ad hoc. And there are places where you can obviously get stuff online pretty quickly, which isn't probably as cheap as it could be if you went in bulk or trade. And at the time when I started, it was really IKEA, Dunelm, not to mention names and stuff. But there are a number of online retailers. You can obviously Wayfair, just kind of as and when we needed it, so that I didn't overspend. Because obviously I started with my own cash. I didn't want to go out and just drop 100 grand on furniture. So we just kind of did it as and when we needed to, and it worked all right. We're actually really lucky in Bristol, in our direct surrounding areas. Within a 15-minute drive, 20-minute drive from me, I have 2 Dunelms, an IKEA, like 4 B&Ms, like loads of furniture stores, like independents, which are really loads of art independent places where you can get prints. And there's actually a number of really good. There's a place near us, like that's almost like it's called Bristol-based. It's like they get returns from Wayfair and from all the big furniture. So Wayfair try and deliver to you 3 times. If they can't do it, same with John Lewis, same with any major retailer. We've also got John Lewis, House Fraser, got all of those. if they try and deliver to you a couple of times and they can't actually physically deliver it, they can't sell it again. So they'll sell it in bulk to like these smaller companies. And we have like literally one down the road. So sometimes you can find a great, sofa that's John Lewis and has been sitting in his warehouse for like 6 months, and he'll sell it to you at like 20% of the price. And sometimes it's just not great, but you get lucky at these things. But yeah, we've managed to accrue a lot of furniture now, probably too much. The storage costs are going.
Yeah.
I don't even.
Yeah, that was my next question actually. So in the beginning, you didn't even have a storage at all, because you were basically doing as jobs came in, and then you would buy just for that property, so you didn't have any storage facility as such. But so when did that happen? When did the switch happen? They were like, okay, I need to start buying more and start storing, so I have things ready and waiting. When was that, and how long did it take until you got that?
It was really quick, because to be honest, we were the first rental company in Bristol to do rental furniture. So, and then obviously development in Bristol at the time was going nuts. So when we got on to a couple of developers, it went really quickly. So in the first year when I was doing this, I was like, you charge 4 or 5 grand for a stage, it'd be great. Do one of these a month, nice little company. And I think we did like 65 stages in the first year. And like I just had to keep getting loans, buying furniture, like was doing crazy hours, was doing these really extravagant proposals, because I really felt like you had to convince the buyer what they're buying. So I was doing like CGI mock-ups, like going, this is what it will look like, which was taking me like 4 hours. Now I'm just like, it's this price, you do it or you don't. Do it. But because at the time it was kind of an unknown, people were going, what is it? I was literally like, I was trying to show them, I will make your house look like this if you give it money. So I think it was within the first year. So really it was quite useful, because I was in like a safe store, like Big Yellow, like any of those big names. And essentially when we needed more space, you just get more rooms, and then as and when you didn't need any more, you just dump them off. So it was actually really useful, because I wasn't overspending on storage at any point. At some points I was absolutely rammed. I'd just get another room, and then when it was empty, I'd just get rid of it and wouldn't pay for it anymore. It worked perfectly for me. And at the time, I remember I was just talking to people recently, I was paying like £4.50 a square foot. I'm now paying like £12.50 a square foot. So it's become like the switch over from a private storage to like a long lease storage, because I need 5,000 square feet. It's like I'm now looking for. The problem is obviously after lockdown, logistical storage went up 300%. Everyone went online. So before lockdown, looking at buying, and now I'm just like, oh my god, how book a rental.
I know, and I think that's a problem with everyone in the UK, really, because it's just too expensive, and I think it's one of the biggest overheads that everyone has, and something that we always try to find a solution for, but there isn't really much you can do. You just have to put that in your pricing to make sure you can cover it, and unfortunately.
That's the hard thing at the moment, I think, because it's still an emerging market as such. Not in the way, and it's not established, more in that people are coming round to it now without being prompted by an agent. It's hard to kind of show people the value, when you put your prices out, because I feel like with our pricing, we found like a sweet spot where we get more yeses than nos. And not many people now, fall off their seat like, how much? It's basically difficult, but we've got to basically try and put our prices up to cover all the costs that are going up at the moment. Like everything's going through the roof. At the same time, still managing to have a business. And
what's competition like at the moment in Bristol? Because you're obviously, I would say, the first.
Well, I mean, we weren't the first to do home staging. Obviously, there were loads of interior design. I mean, you can't walk 5 meters in Clifton without hitting an interior design shop. Say there's probably 50 in Clifton and Redland alone. But now, people renting furniture, I think there's maybe 4 or 5. But then there's obviously, the David Phillips and the people who are like Lemon and Lime, who are nationwide.
other areas,
we'll just kind of be like an hour kind of circle from Bristol. I mean, you've got people all over now. There's so many.
But
and we
do
all
you think
kind of overlap.
quoting wise, do you know who you're losing to whenever you get a know, you know that they went with, competitor A, B, or C, or they're just not staging at all? If they're not staging with you, what do you think has been happening?
It's been a bit of both. I think a couple of times I've lost out to a local interior designer who's not HSA.
We need to talk.
But they actually only started renting, I think, when I came in. So after the first, I think they did a lot of show homes, and then after the first year when I came in and probably took some of that cut, they were like, "Oh, we need to rent." So they started doing that as well. Now I think that they've gone away from actually having it. They had a shop as well. Gone away from having a shop and are just doing show home rent.
Okay.
And now there are two more, I believe, around Bristol that just do purely rentals. But also, I think they also have one also has a shop, and the other one is show homes plus interior design. So they'll do like the longest. Like I won't do interior design stuff. Like I know some very good interior design people in Bristol who are a lot better than me, and I will just send someone. They'll be like, "Oh, can you come to London and do my house?" And I'm like, "No, you need to talk to these people." I'm constantly sending people. I think I sent a laser one the other day, and like I'm constantly sending stuff away to because it's just, as much as I'd love to do national, I just I can't even.
You know your strengths, you know your priorities, you know your overheads, and you know your structure. So you need to stick to those, because if you start shooting everywhere, it's usually not a good plan.
I quite like doing the staging, so I think if it was going to go big, I'd have to let someone else do it.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So who is Refine at the moment? Because I know that in the very beginning you were obviously trying to do as much as you could on your own, but I know you've got some strong helpers as well as now and then. What's the team situation at the moment?
Ex-rugby players, actually. It's the complete opposite from what you'd expect. So Luke Arscott, who used to be a rugby player as well, he's come on full-time this year. He basically does like at least 60% of what I used to do all on my own. So he'll look after the lads and get them going to places on a day-to-day, so I can go, meet clients or go to a show home visit or something like that. But a lot of the time on bigger ones, we're kind of together, because I think as much as we do show homes, at least 50% of our work is what I would say used to be what I used to do, which is flipping homes. So there's a lot of properties, like I said, in Bristol the last 4 years, probably, I don't know, I bought my first flat for 270 in Bristol, and then sold it for 480 in less than 10 years. So it's gone up like more than double. And prices, I remember first coming here when I was like joining rugby, and my mum and dad were going, "Oh, we should look at investing in a property." And I was like, "Oh, these townhouses are 600,000. They're now like 2.4." So it's like, I know it's been a decade, but it's like compared to like the growth of like London or something, it's grown so much, and the market is nuts. So there's a lot of these areas like Redland and Clifton, which would be the two nicest areas in Bristol, which were very, very studenty and had these huge, 10, 14 bed houses that were all magnolia and grey carpet and just student houses, which now won't rent to any landlord because they don't yield as much as they used to, and now they're worth well over $1 million. We can go in and not only stage it, but add not just perceived value, which I think is what I call staging value. It's not technically perceived value. We actually add some value to the house, like you repaint it, you refloor it, all the big impact, low cost items, I'd call them. So things where people don't really want to do them when they move into a house. Like people are quite happy to like put in a new kitchen or like put in a new bathroom, because they can budget that. They kind of know how much to spend. They have their own thing. If you were going to put a kitchen in the house, it would have to really appeal to everyone. It would have to be very, white, shaker, marble top, have to appeal to everyone. Whereas you don't really, you can do colors and you can do flooring for very, very little, and it would completely change the look of the house. So a lot of the properties that we actually get are not just straight up stages. We'll go in and say, okay, it's going to cost you X to stage it all, this 2-bedroom flat. However, you know, if you're going to spend this many thousand on staging, you should spend an extra 1 or 2 on doing the floor and painting the house, because it's going to return you like 20 grand. Whereas if we just stage it, you might get a quicker sale, you might make your money back. You know, you might make more. But ultimately, if you're staging a house that's magnolia with blue carpet, you know, do you want to spend that much money staging it? Can't make you know, staging is good.
Look, if you can offer that, I think that's fantastic, and it is something that really is getting more space in the UK. I think in the States it's quite normal to have the sort of like combo, whereas here, I don't know if it's a lack of maybe knowledge really and skill from the stages to have that background of knowing how to do these things and wanting to really get their hands dirty, even if it is just project managing, not necessarily doing it themselves. But it's starting to happen a little bit more, and I'm glad that you do that as well, because it's all about property presentation. Sometimes you need to go a little bit deeper than simply furnishing it.
Well, because it actually makes your job a whole lot easier as well. So, you know, I won't, in a way, I won't let people get involved in other, be like, oh, can I pick the colours or can I pick the furniture? And I'm just like, no, you know, like as much as I want that, I know a lot of their, especially if they've lived in it, you know, they've got like an emotional attachment to the home. It's understandable, but you know, you're telling them they're paying for your knowledge and your marketing, like, you know, the area, you know what sells. It works a lot better that way, especially for you, because you can, you know, we all have colours as stages that we know work in homes, not because they're our favourite colours, just because they're market pleasers. You know, as much as grey is a really on-trend colour anymore, it still does well in pictures and sells homes. And it's, you know, white is actually making a big comeback. I would never have painted the house white probably 3 years ago. I'd be like, no, white, don't do it, it's so plain. But I'm like, oh yeah, white with, you know, hard black accent, you know, Japandi, like black accents forward, doing really well. But I've always found that I think that the trend with selling homes is I would always say, it's like, it's not catwalk fashion, it's high street fashion. So like, you know, interior designers and like, you know, real interior nerds who love, like, I love interior design and I love like really pushing the boat out. Hence my walls are like really, really dark green. But, you know, I wouldn't do this in a show home, because you want everyone to like it, and a lot of people will be like,
I think there's a fine line between making it memorable, and making it like super personalized. So you might, I think it was the ladies from John Lewis that used to always say that they want to be the show home that people will remember. So maybe like an orange sofa, or you know, something like an extra piece.
You can take out though, because the sofa goes
with.
I always find that the smell as well, that's more important, because it's more memorable. Like, it's scientifically proven the smell is our best recall. If you smell great, when you get, always put a really good diffuser on the way into the house. They'll be like, oh, what's that one that smelled great? And you always remember that.
So what do you do?
A gerbil in the door. Straight as you walk in, bosh, with a big refined sticker on it.
Look, it all counts.
It
all counts. It works well. Back in the days, stages in the States were like, you know, bake cookies. They still do that, but you don't need to do that.
Champagne by the bed and stuff like that. My big bugbear, which I think goes against a lot of staging, is setting the table. I don't.
There are divided opinions about that. There are divided opinions.
Because why would you leave the house with your table set? I want it to look like a home. I think with my stage, I want it to be staged, obviously, but I look more like a home than a show home.
Yeah.
Like, I think what you mean. The crowning glory of that was one of our homes was on Phil and Kirsty's When They Find You a Home. When they go around Bristol, they came up homes, and they went to somebody's house, and they were like, "Oh, it feels too show homey," because they put all this chrome everywhere. And then they showed the one that I'd done, which was a show home, and no one lived in. They were like, "Yeah, it feels really homely," and I was like, "Yes." They didn't know it was a show. The fact they didn't know the best part.
Yeah, I think there are some show homes that it does look like people try too hard to stage it with like way too many accessories and, you know, table setting and all of that. Sometimes it's like, you know, a tray on the bed with fake coffee and fake croissant and like.
I've been known to put a tray on the bed. I'm not gonna lie, I've done a tray on the bed. But for me as well, the other thing with tables is when you set it, you can gauge the size of the table. So often I'll try and pass off like a 6-seater table is not a 6-seater table, and if I try to set that table, there's no way that 6 place setting can fit on it.
Yeah,
it's just,
look, I think it's more of a personal taste, really. I like to set the table, not necessarily like plate side by side. I like to have maybe like a stack of stuff on one side and a nice like vase or something. Yeah, but not necessarily like the black and white. Yeah,
like you always look at another stage's style and you're like, oh, it's so good, I can't do that. And everyone each other. It's like I look at some stages and I'm like, oh my god, how do they do that with a bed? And then the same stage will come up to me and go, oh, how do you do your beds? And I'm like, literally thinking about
yeah. No, especially with social media nowadays, you get to see so much, but I think that's very helpful. Okay, I've got a kind of an off-topic question, but I have to ask, what is it like being a man in such a female-oriented industry? And I can tell by your face, like you don't really enjoy it. Is it challenging? Do people ask you, how do you balance work and family? And
yeah, question weirdly.
No, they should. How do you balance work, life, and family?
Yeah.
What's your secret to look so young and to do everything? Tell us everything. Yeah. Oh no, shut up.
Yeah, I'm only 25. So no, it was more that they expected me to be it's terrible. They expected me to be gay when I started, and I obviously wasn't. And then I don't know. They did. Do you know? It's more the tradesmen on site when you walk in and tell them what you're doing. That are the ones who are a bit more narrow-minded. I think now it's not as bad, and there are more guys coming in. But I actually quite like that it's not, you know, because I actually quite like that it's more like female-orientated, because it is really. But I think we can offer something a little bit different, maybe. I don't know. I'm always trying to live up to, you know, the lemon and limes of this world, and I'm trying to see what I do.
Like there's a high bar to set, yeah.
So, I mean, I think at the start I don't really notice it anymore. It's more like the odd quip from a tradie. My favourites are when they're just like, oh, when you paint it all white, or like,
yeah,
I think you should lay out this way. Oh yeah, do you want to talk about your door over here? It's a bit of a balance.
Do you think they take you more seriously than they would a woman?
No, I mean I've had some classes recently with some where I've done some Airbnbs in Bath, because we get to do a bit of that as well. Yeah. And the client nicely let me go to town on colours, because it was a basement flat and it was pretty like dark. And I was like, look, let me just make it Soho house. You know, it's Bath. Like, just let me make it. So I basically had to talk him into. I wanted to paint all the architraves and the doors black, because it's like a Georgian house. I was like, I want like Regency doors, and one of the rooms is like, you know, sulking room pink by Farrell, which I've been dying to use somewhere for ages. And so I've just gone nuts with the colours, and the builders went off at him. They were like, "Oh, we've made it all nice for you. You've done this with it." And I'm like, I just said, "Look, I can't imagine that this fella's going to be staying in one of these boutique Airbnbs, but I could be wrong."
Look. You never know. Yeah, and I think with Airbnbs you have more freedom to be bolder, because it's about the experience. Then you actually want to stand out and not be personal. And you want it to be like going to an exhibit, you know, being like, oh, I love it here, but I maybe wouldn't have my house this much, which is kind of like what you do. You definitely push the boat out, and we've done like full wool velvet headboards, not that like a black. It's very slightly velvet, black. Like things like that, which you'd only get really in a hotel. Yeah, you wouldn't have it in a. But you know, in an Airbnb, that's kind of the experience you're going for, especially if you're just going Airbnb
you know, from scratch. It was never going to be a rental. It was just straight Airbnb.
Yeah, which is so much fun. Yeah. So what is Refine's say main services or the most popular ones at the moment? So you obviously do some Airbnb, you do furniture rental, you do the staging with some live refurb. So what do you think are like the top three
I think
most?
it's like 50-50. Maybe about 10% Airbnb, probably 50% with the refurb, and 40% just straight up stages. Because we do get developers and we do get private. There's a lot of private kind of developers in Bristol, you know, who do 1 or 2 homes a year, just, you know, on the side. So those would be the straight up stages. But a lot of the time, to be fair, when I come back to most people, even when they say they just want staging, I just think there's a lot of the time I just say to them that this is the cost of staging, but you've got to paint these walls, or, you know, like, staging is good, but you can't hide, you know, a damp spot on the ceiling. You can't hide blue carpet. Like, it's good, it's not magic. And I think because we're quite busy, I can be a bit cutthroat with it and be like, look, this is the amount of staging, this is what the refurb is. And when people say, oh, will you just do the refurb? I'm like,
because then,
well, we make, being brutally honest, we make very little money off the refurb. And make all our money from renting the furniture and our, you know, our staging time.
I think so the refurb is more with the result in mind, to work with the staging, not necessarily something that would drive profit.
No,
it only works with the staging.
It's similar. Would you spend £5,000 and make potentially 8 to 10, or would you spend £8,000 and make potentially 20? Like, it's a no-brainer. And I mean, I know it's real money. The funny one always blows me away is where they go, oh no, we can't afford that right now. And you're like, okay, but you can afford to take 20 grand under an asking price.
But that's really tricky, because it's more about having to get money out of your pocket right there and then. That's sometimes a bit more complicated than obviously not getting the money to begin with. So
deferring costs as well. Until until the end of until they complete, because we get a lot of probate houses as well. So deceased estates and stuff haven't been touched in 50 years. They have cash between them, but, you know, we can you know, they sell pretty quick. It goes through in like 4 or 5 months, and they can pay us out of the completion, which obviously comes at a premium, but a lot more people are happy to pay that premium when they've got the cash in their hand.
That's really good. So how old is Refine now?
I think this is our 7th year. I think.
Okay. It's nearly time to wrap up. I've got 2 more questions for you. What would be your advice if you were to, you know, go back 7 years and see a pre-staging Rob that was just about to start staging and say, it'll take you 2 weeks, yada yada? What would be the advice? Because I know you probably thought it was easier, you probably thought it was faster, you probably thought it would make lots more money with lots less work. What would be your advice to younger Rob?
Buy Bitcoin and sell it.
How was staging? Go and buy Bitcoin. But like staging related, what would be your advice?
That's actually a really good question.
I didn't prepare you for that one, did I?
Quite hard, because I think I've actually lucked out on a lot of things. But I do. It's because I know, like, we do this. We go back and forth in meetings, and you know, valuing yourself. But you do have to do work at the beginning for like nearly nothing, because you've got nothing to show people. You've got no proof of you know, your past work, unless you just pretend that you do. I would say probably value your worth. I would probably have charged more from the beginning.
From the very beginning.
Because I think I wasn't charging for my time at the beginning, because as much as I've always been interested in interiors and always had like an ability to like lay out rooms, I think because it's not just laying out rooms practical. Let's be honest, staging is more pretty than practical. You got to think about where the camera is going to, your level of furniture and the heights of the windows and stuff. So it's more for marketing than anything else than it is practical. But because I think I didn't really believe that because it hadn't come from a genuine university or an education, I didn't have a stamp of like home stager authority. Charging for my time felt like I was cheating people a little bit.
Yeah.
But now super confident and fine.
Not anymore, right? No imposter syndrome or anything like that. Good.
Because there is a lot to learn about it, and actually, to be fair, you could read and do courses, but until you start really doing it, you learn. And I think it's better learning. For me, that's how I learn anyway. Learn by doing. Yeah. You learn lessons quickly, and you don't.
I
was thinking so much about what I was going to buy. I was going into IKEA that I drove the loop underneath IKEA into the top of it. My very first. I was like, yeah, for a Luton in here. So I'm like driving to the first stage with like the top of the Luton, like in the wind.
God. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, that would be a good advice as well. Yeah.
Head height of vehicles.
Yeah, check the height. Yeah, especially if you're the stager, the furniture purchaser, the stager,
that's the other one.
everywhere.
That's the other one. Actually, there's a good little bit of information that I stole from. Not I stole from, but one of the other stagers told me it. I was like, "How do you store mattresses?" Because I got like 50 at one point. They were like, "Oh, use airbeds." I was like, "Oh my god, how did I not think of that?"
Do you use airbeds at the moment? Yeah.
Because you can't store 200 mattresses. It's like ridiculous. It's like mattress mountain, and they're so heavy and big and gross.
But is that all you use, or do you have a little bit of both?
No, I have a bit of both. So in the longer ones, so when we're doing either kind of higher end properties where you need like a chunky mattress, or ones, so obviously there'll be like longer rental ones where we do like a plot change thing because obviously renting is brilliant, but there is a time where it becomes non-efficient. Obviously, once you 12 months, you've almost kind of bought the furniture. So we do options for developers who have multi plots to do plot changes, if a lease, obviously, and the air mattress won't stay out that long. So we can't keep going in and topping it up. So
at the end of the day, it just costs more. I've got a question here from I think your number one fan, because it's been sending us little nuggets of joy here in the chat throughout the live. So Jake's asking if you can trust your stuff with the stage, or is it hard to let go of the controls slightly? First of all, tell us, who is Jake?
Jake is a back row from actually he's just signed to go to Italy, but he was at Gloucester. He plays
really? How exciting. Congratulations, Jake.
We played together at Hartbury, and he was at Bristol, so he's a Bristol boy. Very good player. Unfortunately, he's been so unfortunate with injuries. He just got back into the Italian team, then did his shoulder. So, but he makes cider now, so check out his cider.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this live is sponsored by.
What did he put? Yeah.
Had I known.
Can he trust staff with the stage, or is it hard to let go? Oh my goodness! It is.
He even dropped the phone. Okay. Jake, see the effect we have on him.
It's hard. It is hard to let control go. The boys are actually pretty good now. We've got a lad called Cal and Alex Forrester, and also there's a guy called Mike Logan who turns up occasionally. But they are good, and I have been away actually from the business a few times, and they've staged on their own. They've been good. I think it's easier if they take we call it the scaffolding stage, where scaffolders take it down from one house and they put it straight into another house. If we can do a scaffolder stage, that's like
my goodness.
I don't mind being in that one because you get a lot. So our average house is probably a 2-bed flat. Like that's Bristol's average house. So if we can empty one 2-bed flat into another 2-bed flat in one day, it's
amazing.
I don't have to be around for that. And the boys are good. And they've even done one.
You're okay to let them do that. You're not like overly attached to having to do everything and not being able to
send me
delegate.
pictures. They'll send me pictures and they'll be like, "Is this all right?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, that's fine." And to be fair, 90% of the time, it's good. Cal, one of the boys, Cal, who his philosophy is if in doubt, throw a reed diffuser on it.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Amazing, Rob. I saw that Laser just joined. Laser, you missed out on the whole live. We're literally wrapping up. Make sure to watch it later because there are some mentions to you, by the way.
Yeah. All next.
Yeah, like all the time. Yeah, you need to watch the whole thing to catch it. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so Rob, if people want to find out more about Refine and see your work, try to spot a diffuser in one of your portfolio images, or see what you do with your beds, where can they go? How can they find out more about you and the company?
Well, I'm a closed book. Can't find anything out about me.
Okay.
I think the most updated is always going to be Instagram because it's so easy. So at Refine. Our website will be linked on there, but it's it's really just a gallery. Refine Property is uploaded every day, and we do little stories of what we're doing. So just be there, and they're all through the the Home Staging Association website. We're linked on there somewhere as well.
Somewhere as well, no, you're there for sure. Rob, I'm so glad we did this.
Yeah, me too. Sorry for being a bit tired.
No, it's okay. Sorry it took me so long to invite you. And remember, we have the HSA magazine in a few months' time, and I want you to be featured. So start thinking as well, because I think, you're doing such an amazing job with Refine, and you've been a founding member from the very beginning. So I think we definitely need to feature you because I can see that people are really interested in finding out more about you and your work. So yeah, that's fantastic. Well, look, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Have a great evening.
And you. And yeah, I'll speak to you very soon. Thank you everyone for watching, listening, and I'll catch you very, very soon. Bye.
For more information, please visit www.homestaging.org.uk.